Okay, testing, testing. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, teacher.
Good, good. There's a few latecomers. We'll give it a few more, 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll make a start. Don't forget that this class will be recorded. Once the class are over, it will be made available. I'm not too sure whether it's going to be through Blackboard or through YouTube. We will see. Okay, let's make a start. Don't forget that this particular class will have international students as well. So if you could, please communicate using English. If you are a foreign student, and there might be unavoidable Vietnamese messaging through chat or through Zalo and so on, you should be able to use Google Translate and pretty much get the gist of the translation if any of it has been done in Vietnamese. Okay, we will make a start. Okay, my name is Dr. Deepo. This course is Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management. Within the class itself, there's a number of different kinds of students. There will be engineering students. I think it should be about 10 engineering from various different engineering departments, whether it's biotech or computer science or other engineering departments. There will be international students, mainly from Germany and Holland and Denmark. And majority of you guys will be BA, the Business Administration department itself. So there'll be a mixture of various different students from different background and different location, especially with the COVID travel restriction nowadays. Before I start, I want to kind of talk about a few announcements. The course website. You can access the course website by going to diepmho.info or .com. It does not really matter. By pressing enter, you should arrive into my website. And this particular course on the sidebar, Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management. Various different announcements will be sent to the course website if there's any announcement. Course details, there'll be a quick summary of the course details. I'll go through all this in details in the throughout the course or throughout. There's a few latecomers. I have to give them access. Give me a moment. Okay, so on the course website, you can get all the course lecture notes and all the study material involved. There'll be summary of the various different assignments associated with this. A small portion of score during the midterm, but in general, this course do not have final exam. Yeah, so they're only midterm and class assignments. We'll talk more about that during the lecture notes. You can access the lecture notes by going to File Cabinet. Under File Cabinets, there's a lot of materials relating to this particular course. There's the Business Handbook collection, which consists of business plan and so on, and majority of the class assignment will be relating to this particular resources. You can click on View to go into the business plan library, and you can access thousands or hundreds of thousands of business plan. These are real businesses which existed in various parts of the world. Whether they have been successful or not successful, some of them have been successful and a lot of them has not been so successful. So, but at least it's a resource for doing your assignment. Separate to the handbook, the business handbook collection, there's various different reports and so on. You can download these from the internet. But the main lecture notes will be lecture notes 1C, lecture notes 2B, and so on and so on. There's a few latecomers. Let me admit them. Okay, so the main lecture notes will be for today at least, will be lecture 1C and 2B. We'll use 2B shortly just to give you a strategy in terms of forming your group assignment teams. Okay, so let's open up the lecture notes. These things like EBISUB assignment, CleanTech assignment, individual assignments, you can go to these things. But in general, most of the information in these pages, we will go through it during the lecture notes as well. So let's switch to lecture notes. Let me just quickly check whether it's viewable. I'll zoom in to make it a little bit more legible. Okay, let's start. So this course, Entrepreneurship and Small Business Management. It's me here, Dr. Deep Ho. Quick introduction of myself. Basically, I'm a part-time lecturer at the International University. So in general, I only teach 2 days a week. Majority of my times I spend running various different businesses. So Majority of this course in general would be taught out of my experience, yeah, more so. So it's a combination of some portion of this course will be academic, whereas majority portion of this course will be practical and applicable to real world situation. Currently, I founded and run quite a few different companies, focusing on various different businesses or sectors in businesses. My office is at Guangzhou Software City. I have a research and development lab there, which focusing on setting up companies and running various different companies. I'll give you more details about my companies as we go through the course itself. Let me just mention quite a few companies. EduNet is one of the main companies within my group of companies, focusing on IoT, Internet of Things, to artificial intelligence, and mainly technology based. Aura Corporate Services in general will focus more on the business side, like legal and auditing and accountancy and so on. Sunroof Marketing focus more on marketing side of things, and Lavatech focusing mainly on biotech stuff. My background, majority of my career is spent in the finance world. I work mainly in banking, asset management or portfolio management companies and so on. So running these companies pretty much similar to the portfolio management, but actual hands-on kind of management overall. Actually, there's a few things I need to change here. I think the website here has been changed. If you want to access and see and find out about these companies, that there are internship available at these companies. It should be .com, not .vn. There's a wrong website. Same here. It should be .com, not .vn. So that's me. My email, if you need to access me, message me through email, and my mobile phone number. Yeah. There is a TA for this particular course. It is Mr. Kim, one of my PhD students. You should be able to find his contact details on Zalo. So please join Zalo if you haven't done it already. You can talk or communicate to the teaching assistant as well as myself. As well, it's very important, especially when you want to form the groups for group assignments. Internet is a bit slow today. I don't know why. Let me just close a few tabs. Hopefully it will speed things up. I think because I have recording on, it might things might be slightly slow for now. I try to close a few tabs as well, just to make sure it's not too many application open problems. Okay, so this course, my contact details, course website summarized here. Assessment, I think it was advertised in the current syllabus is 25 is class participation, 20% is midterm exam, multiple choice. There will be no final exams, but there are term group as well as individual projects. Yeah, and that's worth 55% in the current syllabus. At the moment, I'm talking to the department, business school, to change the weighting, especially during the pandemics and so on, to shift a lot of the percentage over to the group assignments. Yeah, so because of social distancing and pandemic, and not only that, the restriction in terms of travel and so on, a lot of the weighting needs to be shifted away from the exams and so on. And that's why originally there was no final in the first place. Yeah. This course is meant to be more practical and less so in terms of academic overall. So we're currently trying to shift a lot of these weightings so that class participation will be reduced down to 15%, midterm exams will be reduced down to 15%, and all the weighting for this particular course will be shifted to the group assignments as well as individual assignment. Okay, so currently I'm in negotiating with the school to change to this new weights. I will inform you once the school has agreed. Yeah, so for now, focus on the old number. If the school do not agree to the new weighting, we have to stick with the old number. If not, and if I can make this change, we will try to shift to this new, the red colored highlighted percentage, where majority of the weighting will be in the group assignments as well as the individual assignment. In terms of textbook, basically there are no textbook for this particular course. The textbook is the lecture notes itself, but if you need textbook, it's optional. You can use this particular textbook here. It's quite an old book. Yeah, I haven't really updated to a more recent textbook yet. In general, all your exams question will be based off the lecture notes. So your lecture notes will be your textbooks. Yeah. In general, you don't need an external textbook for this particular course. Any textbooks you use is optional. You can use as reference, or if you just like textbooks in general. This course, we will try to, and the topic of entrepreneurship is more real world than the academic world in general. So we will try to focus more on the practical side of things. We'll follow this Edgar Dale core experience. When it comes to education and teaching in general, you'd be surprised at how much people learn from the various different ways in which they are being educated. Through reading and so on, you might be able to retain 10% of what you read in general. Or what you read and you hear at the same time, you might retain about 20% of the material or information which you gathered. But in general, when you use other sensory in your body, from your not only your eyes when it comes to reading, and your ears when you hear, if you experience using your muscle memories and so on as well, in addition, the more sensory you use, the more likely you're going to retain those information. So less so information retained, just only reading and hearing itself. So these are so-called passive kind of learning, where you only take information in. I'll try to focus more on the practical side or the active kind of learning. With active learning, you actually also participate in the lecture as well. Yeah, so I'll ask questions, hands ups, and so on, feedback from you guys as well. By using more of your sensory and actually using a active kind of learning, you will retain a lot more information overall. So Edgar Dow, so-called, he did research, and what he found that the more methodology you use when it comes to learning, and not just me reading and hearing and seeing what you usually see in lectures and so on at university, but also participate and do hands-on workshops and collaboration and so on, as well as play with simulation games, business simulation games, or even present and doing the real thing and so on, you're going to retain a lot more information. It's a more active kind of learning experience overall, and we'll try to do more of that. I know it's going to be very difficult in an online class to be practical, and especially with social distancing and so on. But we'll figure out, we'll try our best in ways, and that's why I've created the Zalo messaging groups and so on. I'll try to, where possible, I'll try to figure out how to increase the number of participation and the practicality, hands-on, and so on as possible. In doing so, more or likely that you're going to retain more information from this particular course compared to just only passively reading and hearing and seeing and attending lectures overall. So in this course, we'll focus more on the practical side of things. That's why 70% of the scores for this particular course will be weighted towards the group assignments as well as the individual assignments. So there will be 3 assignments in total. There will be 1 individual assignments and 2 group assignments. So let's go through the individual assignment first. In general, in entrepreneurships and so on, a lot of new businesses and startups tend to focus on technology, and especially emerging technology in general. So the individual assignment is for you to choose a technology or a emerging technology or a company that you are interested in, and then write a discussion as well as do a presentation. We won't have time to do presentation. There's about 40 students in the group. We don't have time to go through every single presentation, but we'll go through a short number of presentations. I think we have time for about 10 presentations in total, and we will figure out how to do this. And I think you'll like this particular assignment because of that. So it's the individual assignment is to prepare a 10-minute presentation as well as discussion, mainly on a case study of a company that you are inspired by or interested in, or in an emerging technology which you are interested in as well. You can and shall conduct additional research and additional resources and supplement and so on. This to help you with your group assignment as well. Yeah, to figure out and to analyze each one in the group will research in how different companies have got started, and not only that, how different technology is being implemented in business or in startups in general. So pretty much base research and so on, to help you with figuring out about your business, your startup entrepreneurship group assignment. In terms of case study, here's some example. You can choose internet companies like Zara or Netflix or Amazon. Some companies, a company of such which inspire you. Or a technology, an emerging technology which inspire you as well. But in real world, in real life, and this is where we tends to switch things around and to make things a little bit more interesting. In general, for presentation and so on, we don't have a lot of time to do presentation. There are 40 people in the class. So we'll do presentation, only 10 students will be picked to do presentation. And how do you get picked to do presentation? The class will pick you. So actually, the 10 most interesting topic chosen by the class to teach the rest of us. Not only you do the presentation, but you will get a 10% bonus point for this particular course if you do the presentation and help us learn about not only an interesting company, like a case study, or an emerging technology, a new technology that's interesting to the class itself. So the exercise here, in reality, is not about, if you want that 10% extra, it's not about choosing a topic which you are interested in. Yeah, it is about choosing a topic which the class interested in. Yeah, if the class is interested in your topic, then they will vote you higher up, and you will automatically get that bonus point. In the real world, startups and entrepreneurship, that's what it's all about. It's all about what you want. In general, to be successful, you need to do what people want. Because at the end of the day, if you do what you want, you're most likely going to have one customer, and that is yourself. Whereas if you do what the class wants or what the rest of the world wants, you're going to have an infinite number of potential clients or customers. So there are two ways to look at when it comes to the individual assignment. If you want bonus point, extra bonus points and so on, you need to focus in on topic which is which you think the class will want. But if you are not that interested in the bonus points and so on, then you should choose a topic which you prefer to research about, or even to do group assignment about. So I'll give you some example of I did this course during the summer months. I'll give you an example of how people chosen the topics. So you can look at the example of what previous year or previous semester have chosen for their individual assignment. You got the individual assignment on the course website. There should be a spreadsheet. Should be to view here. The internet is a bit slow. It's taken a short while to refresh. I think it's just mainly because of the recording. You can click on this link to access the spreadsheet. And here are some of the topics which students in the previous semester have chosen. Yeah, so you see the top 10 topics. These will be presented to a class. Not only you automatically get 5% for doing the presentation or get voted by the class. The class will give you a score in terms of how well the presentation was done. So potentially you can get a maximum, like these particular student down here, a maximum of 10% for your, which is quite substantial for your assignment. Yeah, don't forget the assignment already, and we're working on it, is already weighted as 70% of the course score. So an additional 10% on top of that, yeah, can be quite substantial. So any questions so far from anyone? No?
Teacher, can I have a question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So we will choose the topic for the assignment group, and then we will prepare for the presentation, and suddenly you will call the name, so we will be picked up to have a presentation.
No, what will happen is that I will send out a link, and you can go to that link and you register your topic. First come, first serve. In terms of, because all these spreadsheet, all changes to this spreadsheet are all time stamped and so on, so we know who chosen what topic at what time. The topic needs to be unique, that you cannot, no two students in the class can choose the same topic. So that's why it's a first come, first serve basis. Once you have a topic, we will put it to a class vote, kind of raise of hands and so on. The topic which get chosen by the class with the highest votes. So these are the highest votes. So these are the number of votes that are done by the class. So you can see here, Nike was chosen by 17 students in total, or 19 votes, as well as Highland Coffee. So we'll be ranked along class votes. So you guys get to choose what 10 individual assignments needs to be presented to the class so that we can learn. So it doesn't have to be company, it could be technology, emerging technology as well. So you see here, these are the highest voted by the class, and these down here were not voted, well, lower voted by the class and so on. Yeah. So the one with the highest vote will get the potential of 10% extra bonus points if they present. It's optional.
Yes, I got it.
It's optional as well. So here, for example, A, B, and B chose not to present. So hence no bonus point. Yeah. But everyone has to do individual assignment. Everyone has to submit individual assignment, and everything needs to be submitted through Turnitin, which I will give you details later on in the course itself. So about the bonus point itself, up to 10% only if you do the presentation. If you choose not to do the presentation, then you will not get any of that bonus points. Okay?
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Is that clear for everyone? And this is very important. And in the real world, academic and the real world are slightly different things. One of the reasons why class votes and so on is exactly what I basically mentioned earlier. It's not about doing successful business. Sometimes, it's majority of the times, if you want to be successful, it's not about choosing things which you are interested in. If you choose things which only you interested in, then potentially you only get one customer. So in terms of strategy, you want to choose a topic which the class like. Yeah. So if the class, majority of people in the class like that topic, they are potentially your customers as well, especially for your individual assignment. Yeah. So if the class, if everyone in the class or majority of people in the class like your topic, then you're going to get a higher vote. So it's not about choosing what you want and what you like. It's about choosing what you think your potential customer or clients and so on wants. Yeah, so they will pay you with votes as well as score and bonus points for you to teach them about that particular topic or that particular technology. So these are some examples. You see some topics will pop up from year to year or from semester to semester. There's all these tabs below here. You're welcome to go through these. These are some of the topics which previous years or previous class have chosen as well. So sometimes you see like Uniqlo and Vina Game. Here's a technology, artificial intelligence, and Tesla. In other semester, it tends to be kind of, I think this particular class is probably female dominated. So there's a lot of fashion related topics here, like Mango, Zara, Sephora, Victoria's Secrets, and so on. So if you think the class contains a lot of female, then these topics are going to be very popular. If, especially for this particular class, there'll be a combination of engineers and biotechnology students as well. So maybe more in technology inclined compared to last summer's class itself, which is less, actually all of them, all these students are BA. There's only 3 biotech company. I mean, no, not 3, actually 3 biotech students. And the topic which the biotech student wasn't really that interesting to the rest of the class, so hence they tend to get very low vote. Things like sugar and Nestle and Dalak Hasfarm receive very low vote compared to the BA dominated topics, you know, which is about like Highlands and Yamaha and Pizza 4P and so on. So you need to figure out what the class wants and who are your potential customers and so on, and chose a topic which fit your customer. Yeah. So in previous years, you see here mostly BA student in this particular class itself. Actually, all of them are BA students. In this particular year, they tend to be more technology dominated. So, okay, we have Uniqlo, the Japanese clothing manufacturer or retailer. But then we have Vina Game, FPT, artificial intelligence, Tesla, Apple, Muji, Zara. So these topics tend to be very common from year to year. Let's see what about Saturday 2020 class. So here, blockchain, Lazada, Grab, Zhongwing, and so on. So everything, if you're looking for ideas, you're welcome to go through these tabs down here. These are just previous years or previous class. And you can see the number of class votes in previous year as well, just to give you some idea. I will make it fair. So during class, maybe not today, maybe in 1 or 2 weeks' time, I will open up the spreadsheet and you can simultaneously go on to the spreadsheet and choose or even register your topic. Yeah, so it's a first come, first served basis. Everything is logged and timestamped and so on. So if you registered 2 topics at similar kind of time, the one which has the earliest timestamp will receive that topic, and the other person needs to change the topic to something else unique. Okay, so important, it's got to be unique. You cannot 2 classmates or class individual from the same class cannot choose the same topic. So that's your individual assignment.
Teacher.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you summary about the purpose of this sheet again? This spreadsheet again.
The purpose. This is Google Sheets. With Google Sheets, multiple people can access the spreadsheet at the same time. So there are about 40 people in the class. Once I send out the link to the spreadsheet, 40 people can log on to the same spreadsheet at the same time. And the first one writes like Nike down will get that particular topic. Do you understand?
So this is about the score of individual?
No, everyone needs to register their individual assignment. But in doing so, the class will see the list, the menu available to them, and they can choose up to 10 topics to be presented to the class. Yeah, we have time to sit and listen to only 10 topics. If each topic takes 10 minutes, then 10 topics, that's 100 minutes. Yeah, plus question and answer and so on. It will take some time. We don't have time to all 40 students to present. It just means that all the course will be presentation. Yeah, 40 times 10 minutes.
The ones that are chosen to present will get a bonus score, right?
Yes, that's right.
One more question about the final assignment. How many members in the group?
We'll go through that in a moment, but 3 to 4 people per group. No more, no less.
Yeah, thank you.
In a moment, we'll go through in terms of strategy, in terms of choosing the group as well. Yeah, what's the best way to choose a group? Not necessarily because your best friend. Yeah, we'll go through the reason and so on in a moment. Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we add a description for our topic to increase the potentials of being chosen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about marketing and so on as well. So you're welcome. Each person will have one role of this spreadsheet. Yeah. So you can do whatever necessary to get people to vote for you.
Yes. Thank you, teacher.
This spreadsheet will be editable. You can add extra columns and so on onto the spreadsheet itself, as long as you don't interfere with other people's details and so on. You're welcome to add an extra if you want to. Let me just add now. Yeah, for example, insert left. It's a Google spreadsheet, so everyone can access at the same time. So you can add comments here as well, or description. Comments / description. If you want to. You can add pictures as well if you want to, but like I said, we're trying to make this as reality or as practical as possible. If you want to do marketing and so on and add photos, you're more than welcome to do that. Because once we do the vote, we'll bring up this spreadsheet and we'll go through each entry. People will stick up their hands, which topic they want to be educated to. I can see there's one student already connected to the spreadsheet itself. And then you can add more details to it, and the more votes you get, more likely you get bonus points. But like I said, the important part, and with business as well, I can see the student got to this particular cell itself. The more important point is we try to replicate real world here. Yeah, so it's not about choosing things which you like. You should choose a topic or a product or a service which people like. Yeah, so if people like it, you're gonna have potentially a lot more customers. Yeah, and they will pay you in the form of bonus points and so on. Yeah, or pay you in the form of money if it's in real world case. itself. So the exercise here is not about choosing a topic to research into, but choosing a topic which you think the class will like as well, and then you get that extra bonus point for that. Okay.
I would have a quick question. Will all the information on the topics will be provided on your website, or are we doing our own research on these topics?
Your choice. You can add more topics. So here, in this particular spreadsheet itself, you can see people choose these topics itself. Yeah, a lot of these topics are common and popular topics. Yeah, and in general, by choosing the popular topics, it's more likely to get more votes.
Okay, so when are you posting the link to the spreadsheet?
I will post a link during the class itself, so you can register the topic. But I will inform you before that, maybe in week number 3, just to give you some time to do a bit of research or marketing research and so on of the people in the class itself. Like I said, you have example of previous year and how people have chosen various different topics from class to class and so on here, for example. So you're welcome to talk on Zalo and do some market research and so on if you want that extra 10 bonus 10 percentage point. But if you don't get voted, it doesn't mean you get no percentage points. You just get the normal percentage point. These percentage points will be addition. So potentially you can get, if you receive 100% for the course, this 10% is on top of that. It will be capped at 100%. So say your midterm exams, you manage to get 10%, and your individual assignment as well as your group assignment, maybe you get 70% from there. You add them up, and that is 80%. But then you get an extra 10% point for being chosen by the class to teach them. And you can add on this extra 10% as well. So if the percentage point is above 100%, then you get capped at 100%. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Is there any more question? No? Okay, we'll continue to the group assignment. Oh, wrong screen. Let me just switch to this particular screen. Okay, so the topic which I listed in the lecture notes, they're just example. You can add more. Yeah, you get to choose. So it's not exhausted list. Yeah, you can add more to this list or the spreadsheet. Yeah, which you have access to. These just give you some ideas. Okay, so there'll be 2 group assignments. One of them is quite fun. It will be the clean tech assignment. It is a business simulation game. You get to manage a startup. It's a bit slow. Detail a simulation game here. You can practice as much as you want. It is basically a simulation game. And then once you play as a class, you can only play it once as a class. Let me just give you an example of that. Clean Tech MIT. You can access a link through the course website. It is a business simulation game. You get to run this clean energy startup. You click on play simulation. you can get to this particular form itself, and you can play as an individual. You can play as an individual as many times as you want. And there's no limit to how many times you can play as an individual. But once you play as a class, you can only do it once. So the play as an individual allow you to practice. Yeah, so let me just write my name, DIPHO. You're welcome to read this details and so on. There are instruction videos how to play this particular game as well. You're welcome to do these research. I think there are instruction on YouTube videos and so on. You're welcome to search on YouTube and so on to help you improve your strategy and so on. So you run this startup company. You have $1 million US to start off with, and you have 5 employees. I believe 3 of which are, 2 of which are engineers, and 3 of which are sales and admin staff. Yeah, so there's you sitting in the corner. This is your garage, and these are your employees. So presumably these 2 are the engineers, and these 3 are your admin and sales staff. You have to access to various different information, from sales and income statement and cash flows and shares, your share price and so on, and products, human resource and so on. Quite a lot of different data. You choose your strategy by choosing unit price of your product and how many employees you want to hire. Yeah, so you can access and hire say more engineers, maybe 1 more engineers, and maybe you want to fire 1 admin staff, for example, you put -1. So you can choose the number of people you hire or fire. By press and save, you get these numbers here. And also you can choose the salary you pay to these employees. So at the moment, it's pay 110% of the industry average. So it's higher than the industry average. So potentially you can attract better employees, or you can pay them through stock grants or through options or through profit sharing. Yeah, so you can mix and match your various different percentages. So say maybe I don't have a lot. Go ahead.
I don't know if it's happening to everyone, but the screen you're sharing, it's actually freezing, so I cannot see what you're doing the whole time.
Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to press share tab. Okay, let me start this bit again. Let me log out. I didn't notice that it actually started in a different tab, started this thing on a different tab. But once you click on, let me just go through this bit again, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. Once you click on this play simulation, it will launch a different tab. Yeah, that's why it's frozen earlier. It will launch this particular tab here. Once you're in this tab here, you will see play as an individual, as well as play as a class. There's also video instructions and so on. You can search on YouTube. There are instructions on YouTube how to strategize, how to play this particular simulation as well. Play as an individual, you can play as many times as you want. There's no limit to that. Play as a class, you can do it once. When you play as a class, I will supply you with a user ID and password. You log in, you play it once, then you log out, and so on. And your class or your assignment score will be based off that one particular simulation game which you play. So you want to play as an individual, just pretty much log in as any ID. It will allow you to access the system. You're welcome to read this when you access it, as well as newspaper that your company just launched and so on. And once you get to this particular interface, you have access to sales, income statement, cash flow, shares, product, human resource, and so on and so on. There's a lot of information available. Yeah, some of them are very useful. Other informations are just pretty much not that useful at all. It depends on how you strategize for different things. But this simulation tries to simulate real world as close as possible. So there's you sitting in the corner, like I mentioned, 5 staff, of which 2 are engineers, green, and 3 are sales and admin staff in orange or yellow. And you have $1 million in cash. Each quarter, your burn rate or your cash burn rate, you are burning through about $150,000 mainly to pay salaries of these employees, as well as electricity bills and rental and various different fixed costs and variable costs and so on. You manage your company by choosing or strategizing a unit price. You are selling a clean tech, energy saving, heating or cooling, depends on which kind of country you're in, energy system itself. That's why it can be quite expensive, $75,000 per unit. Compared to your competitors, you are competing with others as well. Your startup competitors as well as your incumbent competitors as well. They have their own price, they have their own technology and efficiency and so on. If you want to improve efficiency, you need to invest more in research and development. But in doing so, it's going to cost you more as well. So it's a combination of choosing the different strategies and so on, and choosing the one which most effect on your profits or your cash position itself. You can choose your number of employees by switching to total. You can hire more by typing the number of extra people, or use a minus number for firing people. So here I added 1 extra engineer and fire 1 sales and admin staff, for example. I can also choose a compensation salary strategy. In terms of startups, I might be low in terms of cash, so I might want to pay people 80% of the industrial average, but then promise that I will compensate them by giving them stocks and shares, maybe 20% here of the company itself. So it reduced my cash burn rate, which will help me last longer. But then the employee has the potential to gain on the upside of the company as well. So it's not that I'm paying them less compared to industrial average. It is 80% in terms of cash and 30% in terms of stocks, options, and stock grants and so on. It can be higher than the industrial average, but in general, if the company is not so successful, the stocks and the options might be worthless. So hence, you can choose some kind of strategy in terms of salaries and so on to encourage your hiring or employees. You can check on this human resource tab here. It will tell you if you are hiring high quality employee. If you pay them high, you're more likely to get high or excellent quality of employees. If you pay less, you're more likely going to get less. In terms of job attractiveness, same thing. You pay them more. If it's interesting, if the work hours is not too high, then people will work for you. If it's low salaries and high working hours, maybe 50 or 60 hours a week and so on, you're going to get employee quitting and so on and moving on. So hence you get a high turnover a loss of employees as well. So there's a lot of other statistics. So it depends on you guys in terms of how or what importance you put on the various different statistics itself. So in addition to employees and salaries and unit price, if you run out of money, you can raise more finance through venture capital or launching an initial public offering into the marketplace to raise more capital. Each time you choose your strategy, and once you finish, you press advance. It'll give you newspaper in terms of how things are, in terms of economies and so on. And you can see here, yeah, it's burned away a bit of your cash because you're paying in the form of salaries. My net income or burn rate is reduced for some reason, maybe because I have one employee less. I think one employee has quit, or maybe I fired one employee. Yeah, I fired one staff, and I have not managed to hire an extra engineer. So you can say you want one, you cannot attract them. They might not join the company itself. The good thing about, so you see here is only 4 staff here, so I probably lost 1 admin staff. So this simulation game try to replicate real world as close as possible through a lot of different research and so on. And the point of simulation games is that, I mean, a good example is if you have to fly from, say, Europe to Vietnam, and you have a choice, choosing a pilot which have learned how to fly from books and exams. Compare that to a pilot which learned through a simulation, a flight simulator. If I ask you the question in terms of to choose which pilot you would fly with, most people in general would choose the pilot which learned from the flight simulator. It's the same with business. Business can be as complex or even can be more complicated than flying a plane. So in general, a lot of managers overall tends to learn from books and maybe doing the MBA or whatever. But running a business is as complicated as flying a plane. So a business simulator like this will teach you a lot more. And you can do all sorts of different things. You can experiment. You can pretty much do things like set a unit price as free. Yeah. So what will that happen? What will happen if you set it for free? Yeah. So simulation will allow you to attempt all sorts of different strategies, whether it's real world or fake or whatever. It allows you to do that. Yeah, so simulation and so on, it allows you to learn a lot more. It's open-ended as well. There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer as well. There's no one way of doing things. Yeah? But in general, if you're looking for benchmark and so on, typically in most previous years for this particular class, if you go to shares, and you view data, your score will be focused. We will focus your score on this particular number here, founder's net worth. So currently the founder's net worth is 1.3 million US dollar. In general, on most years, good groups or good students or good players, yeah, can get up to about 2 billion US dollar after year 8. But on average, most student or most group in the class will average around so like $500 million or 500 million US dollar in terms of founder net worth. So if you're looking for benchmark and so on to see whether you've done well. You've done well if you reach around, say, 1 to 2 billion after year 8. you done average. If you reach around sort of like 400 million or 500 million after year 8, and if you done badly, you get 0 here, so you go bankrupt. Yeah, so in other words, if I burn through all my cash, so here you can see I'm burning through a lot of cash because I'm basically selling it for free. I'll probably go bankrupt and burn through all my cash in just only 1 or 2 years. Yeah, so you go bankrupt. Yeah, so here I've gone bankrupt. So you see they even taking my couch away from me because I got no money left. So if you've done badly, it means that you see it in the shares, you probably get 0. Yeah, 0 net worth. Okay, so if you want to ask whether you've done well or not in your simulation, gauge it by 2 or 3 billion or so. You've done very well after year 8. If you've done average, it's around $500 million US after year 8. And if you have 0 net founder net worth, it means you've done badly. Okay. Any question on the clean tech assignment?
Teacher,
Go ahead.
is this assignment, do we have to do this or individual?
This is a group assignment.
Oh.
The group assignment, there are 2 group assignments, but you have to use the same group in both. And don't forget, like I mentioned in the announcement on Blackboard, you're welcome to have, because there's two class in this particular course. I'm teaching 2 class. You're welcome to have team members from my other class as well, my Wednesday class. And you can talk to them through Zalo and form the group. Yeah, it's not, the group itself doesn't have to be all team members have to be in the class itself. Yeah, it can be outside the class. It can be members from my other class, my Wednesday class, or it can be members outside the class as well. Yeah, they will not get any score for this particular course itself, but they are more than welcome to be a team member.
Teacher, you have said about we will have the section that the team will play as a class part. So when will it take place?
All these assignments doesn't have to be handed in till the week, 2 weeks after the final exam. So 2 weeks after final exam. Yeah. So I will give our users a password to the team leader. I'll email to them once you register your group. You don't have to register a group until week 3, but once you register your group, you need to choose a team leader, and I will email the team leader user and password to play as a class.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Any other question on the clean tech assignment? Okay, the clean tech assignment, there's also a written submission as well. So you need to submit a summary of things like your strategies, your team management, if you come across problems and so on, how do you overcome these problems? You need to take snapshots of the simulation. You need to take snapshots of these graphs and so on, add them to the appendix and so on as well. So once you play as a class, don't forget to take screenshots and so on, yes, for your write-up as well. So in addition, you need to summarize what lesson you learned from the simulation. If you have to redo the simulation itself or redoing playing as a class, what will you do differently? Okay, so that is the clean tech assignment. So there's another group assignment, which is the eBizHub assignment. So here you need to submit in a business plan. Yeah, so this, if anything, this is the bigger weighting of the assignments in total. It's worth 60% of that 70%. If we agree with the school to switch over to the 70% as the assessments, then this 60% of that 70% will be your business plan assignment. Yeah, so the clean tech assignment is worth 20% of that 70%. And your individual assignment is worth 20% of that 70%. So the eBizHub is a bigger portion of your assignments or of this particular course itself as well. And you need to hand in a business plan. And there's plenty of example of business plan on the course website, yeah, which I basically mentioned earlier. So those are, if you remember, let me just switch over to the course website. Under File Cabinet, there's the business plan library. And in the business plan library, there's an example. There's thousands of business plan example available to you. Give it a short while to load. So let's click on an example, Business Plan Handbook, volume number 3. So if your question is what do you need to hand in for your final assignment or your eBizHub assignment, you need to hand in a business plan. Yeah, and there are plenty of example or template on what needs to be in your business plan here in the business plan library. So I'll open up an example and see what it looks like. And there are thousands of examples in these books. Internet's a bit slow today for some reason. I think it could be the recording parts. So each book will have index of topics it will cover, and each book will have about 20 business plan. So these are the business plan. There's about 20 of them in each book, which you click on. So let's jump to one. Maybe jump to this food processor. Leo Grande, page 135. I hope it can let me do that. What page is this? 125, maybe up here. 136, let's see if it's there. I think it should be close. 135, okay. Fast food, that's the one which we talked about earlier. Okay, food processor. So you need to have a executive summary. So these are the templates you need to have. Not every business are the same, but these are just an example of a template. So executive summary, situation awareness, strategy plan, tactical plan, control. You need to have a cash flow analysis as well. We'll go through how to do cash flows and so on in this throughout this course. We'll have plenty of time to cover these things. So here's an example of cash flow from the fast food business plan. So you need to have all that elements in your final assignment. Yeah, so financial forecasting, you need to have various different strategy like marketing plan, executive summaries, and so on. Yeah, so there's plenty of example there. I think, let me just quickly check. It is 2:30 now. We'll take a 50 minutes break. And then we will carry on after the break. Okay, let's get back to the lecture. Before we start, can everyone hear me?
Yes, teacher.
My speaker's a bit off. Let me just turn my speaker on. Okay. Okay, so before the break, we gone through the various different assignments which you will have. The individual assignment, 20% of that so-called 70%, which we talked about. The clean tech assignment, which is also 20% of the 70%. And finally, the EBIS Hub assignment, which is the 60% of that 70%, which we talked about. There's a lot more weighting for the business plan compared to the other. Let me just switch to it. Compared to the other two assignments, mainly because it's a lot more work. Yeah, so it's not about only the business plan which you have to hand in. You need to hand in websites as well as Android app as well. So surprisingly, in this course, we will also be web developers as well as app developers. Yeah, so if you're interested in looking for example of previous years or previous semester in terms of websites and Android apps, in terms of website, you can go to the course website under EBIS Hub. There's a few examples there already. So my suggestion to you guys is to use Wix. Yeah, Wix is very useful. There's a few Wix website here. We can just click on the example. So Fit and Fresh, probably selling some kind of food of some sort. Healthy food of some sort. And there's also a blogging as well. So we need to do, in general, modern day marketing and so on are very reliant on not only on website, but also SEO. So if you're not familiar with SEO, that's search engine optimization. So in general, people find things by using Google search or Bing search or the various different other search engine which is available on the web itself. Yeah. So in general, by using blogs and so on, you can increase or improve on your search engine ranking the more you write or the more link you have to your websites. Yeah. So by using blogs and other form of SEO tactics, which we might go through. If we have time, we'll go through some of these SEO tactics, which to help you to improve your ranking on Google search or Bing search or other search engine optimization. In addition, not only you need to submit in a website, but also Android apps or iOS apps as well. There's a few examples. Let's look on Play Store, which previous year we have submitted. Let's see if there's any available. Google Play Store. Oh, here it is. So not only you write the Android apps, you need to also upload it to Play Store as well. So feel free to install this on your Android phones. iOS is a little bit more complicated, but if you're interested in doing iOS, yeah, you can also do iOS as well. So this more example, you just click on eBiz Hub. There's quite a lot of students submitted to this apps to the Play Store itself. So here's a selection of apps on the Play Store from the various different class in previous semesters. We were looking at Banh Mi. I believe this was a group from international student from Germany who were planning or writing a business plan or submitted in the eBiz Hub assignment as a franchise of Banh Mi store. Here's some of the screenshots from their apps, which they created. Food and drink. So not only you need to create websites to advertise and even discuss about your business, but blogs and so on, web blogs and so on, to improve on your search engine optimization. But also, nowadays most people will access to businesses or even find information on businesses through their mobile phones. So hence you need to have Android apps or iOS apps as well. So part of this course which we will cover how to do websites. Not only that, we will also cover how to do Android apps as well. Okay, so submission is the same thing, 2 weeks after the final exam week. Not only you can submit in PowerPoints, you can submit in the form of Word documents. It should contain the various different components in a business plan, like things like executive summaries, cash flow forecasting, marketing plan, strategies, and so on. But it also, you need to have websites and also Android apps as well. Most of these you can do for free. So before you start any businesses and so on, you need to have a domain name. So you can go to freenome.com to get yourself a free domain name. Register yourself an account, get yourself a domain name, and then you can create websites as well as Android apps to link to your website, whatever that happens to be. Yeah. So in this course, everything you can do in this course for free. If anything, it only costs you your time and energy, or your group. Yeah, it's going to be a group assignment, so it's going to cost your group time and energy more so. Yeah, and it shouldn't cost you a single penny. Wix services are free. Free norms are also free as well.
PVG đó là họ có hai cái hợp đồng, họ đang nhờ mình review phân tóm tắt như sau. Thứ nhất là mình biết trên thị trường nó sẽ có một số cái nhà cung cấp giống như là Adidas hay là Thế giới di động, thì PVG sẽ ký cái hợp đồng để mua cái phiếu mua bán hàng hóa đối với các nhà cung cấp này. Tức là PVG sẽ ký cái hợp đồng mua phiếu mua bán hàng hóa, là tụi em sẽ thấy là sẽ có cái hợp đồng đó. Sau đó PVG sẽ bán lại cho khách, tức là các cá nhân. Tức là các cá nhân sẽ mua cái phiếu mua bán hàng hóa đó, và của PVG sau đó đến Thế giới di động, ví dụ mua để trả chậm chẳng hạn.
Let me
đó.
meet somebody. Somebody's
đó đang tham gia một lớp khác đó thầy. Tham gia một lớp khác song song để trong cái phần adopt này thêm bớt môn.
Để mua cái gọi là phiếu mua bán hàng hóa. Sau đó bán lại với các cá nhân, bán cho các cá nhân.
Okay, I just muted everyone. Okay, good. Okay, I will. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So let me just continue. In addition to websites and Android apps and so on, you're welcome to browse them. Yeah, in terms of website example, you can go to course website. In terms of example of Android apps, you can go to Google Play Store. I don't think there's any iOS example at the moment, especially from this particular class. Before you start any websites and so on, like I said, you should go on to freenorm.com and get yourself a domain name, or register yourself a domain name. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free. And then you can create a website and use that particular domain name with that website. In this course, it shouldn't cost you anything to do things, yeah. So you should not be paying for any particular services on this, especially in this course. Now, for startups and so on, you can do most things for free. If anything, like I said, it costs you your time more so than money. By the end of this course, you will have enough materials and so on. You're probably 90% of the way there in terms of starting a business. Whatever you do with the remaining 10% is up to you. You should have a website. Use Wix. Doesn't cost you anything. It's a drag and drop interface to design your websites on Wix itself. So if you know to use Word or PowerPoint and so on, then you should know how to do Wix anyhow. So it's just drag and drops. You can do e-commerce. You can do a lot of different kind of website through Wix itself. In terms of mobile app, we'll go through it in later weeks and cover App Inventor as well as Thinkable. App Inventor and Thinkable, pretty much the same people who created these two websites here. App Inventor are good at creating only Android apps, whereas Thinkable, you can create both Android apps and iOS apps, all in one interface itself. Yeah, so you do everything on Thinkable, and then you can distribute it from Thinkable to not only Google Play Store, but also Apple App Store as well. And it doesn't cost you anything. These things are free as well. We'll have class on how to do apps later on. It's relatively quite simple. The class probably only lasts about half an hour, so it's very, very simple. As well as a website, it's very simple. It's just drag and drop. Same as apps, it's just drag and drop. In terms of social marketing strategies and so on, we talked about blogs already. It will help you with your search engine optimization and so on. Social networking and so on are very important in this modern business environment nowadays. Yeah, so a lot of these services are free as well. So Facebook's or YouTube or LinkedIn or Twitter and so on, you are welcome to use these things to help with marketing strategies when it comes to business or modern business nowadays. And nowadays, we not only we have search engine optimization, we also app engine or app store optimization is also very, very important as well. So it's not about search engine finding your website nowadays. That's also very important. SEO is also very important. But also you want to attract people to your app store as well, or to your Android apps or iOS apps, so they can install it on their mobile phones. So that becomes more and more important. Nowadays, we have the concept of super apps now. Zalo and WeChat and so on, they are super apps. Not only you can do chat on Zalo and WeChat and so on. But nowadays you can do payments, you can do shopping, you can do a lot of different things through these things. Yeah, so super apps like Zalo or WeChat or Grab in the various different countries and so on. They have more than one function itself. In terms of email, you want as well, there's a few free services which allow you to have corporate email and so on. So you can, once you registered your free domain on Freenome, you can link your email address to your Freenome domain name as well. So any questions so far from anyone?
No, teacher.
Okay. The issue with nowadays is we have the issue of COVID and pandemic and so on. They're good and bad when it comes to this current COVID pandemic. The good thing, well, at least most of you experience the bad thing. You can catch COVID and you can die from COVID, and then you have the restriction in travel and social distancing, wearing masks and so on, creating a lot of problems for a lot of us and a lot of you as well. Especially with online classes and so on as well. So I'll try to mix things up. The issue with online classes and so on, you can get online class fatigue as well. And hence, every so often I need to switch things around rather than just only talk and you listen. I want to use different media as well. So we'll go through using YouTube videos and so on as well. Yeah, so let's switch to YouTube video for some motivation. Okay, millennials. What are millennials? Millennials are, there's various different description of millennials. We'll go through one of the description of millennials. But in general, when you work with groups of people, especially with these assignments, they are group assignments, you need to learn to work with other people. And the people you work with are millennials like yourself. Yeah, millennials in general are affected by the recent innovations such as Facebook and Instagram and social networking and so on. Yeah, unlike your parents' generation or other generation, which were not as affected by social media or internet or mobile phones and so on, a lot of these innovations were or came about during your generation or the millennial generation itself. So you guys were affected in a lot of ways. So to work with other people who are similar to you, other millennials in general, you need to understand how they work and how what are millennials, what are the weaknesses, what are their strengths as well. But in general, startups, entrepreneurships, and so on, it isn't a solo kind of endeavor. It's more of a group endeavor overall. So let's learn about millennials. The YouTube's a bit slow today for some reason. Let's be patient and let it load.
What's the millennial question? Apparently, millennials is a generation, which is a group of people who were born approximately 1984 and after, are tough to manage. And they're accused of being entitled and narcissistic, self-interested, unfocused, lazy. But entitled is a big one. And because they confound leadership so much, what's happening is leaders are asking the millennials, what do you want? And millennials are saying, we want to work in a place with purpose, love that. We want to make an impact, whatever that means. We want free food and beanbags. And so somebody articulates some sort of purpose, there's lots of free food and there's beanbags, and yet for some reason, they're still not happy. And that's because they're missing. There's a missing piece. What I've learned is that I can break it down into 4 pieces. Right? There are four things, 4 characteristics. One is parenting. The other one is technology. The third is impatience, and the fourth is environment. The generation that we call the millennials, too many of them grew up subject to, not my words, failed parenting strategies. You know. Where, for example, they were told that they were special all the time. They were told that they could have anything they wanted just because they wanted. Right? They were told, some of them got into honors classes not because they deserved it, but because their parents complained. And some of them got A's not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents. Some kids got participation medals. They got a medal for coming in last, right? Which the science we know is pretty clear, which is it devalues the medal and the reward for those who actually work hard. And that actually makes the person who comes in last feel embarrassed because they know they didn't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse, right? So you take this group of people, and they graduate school, and they get a job, and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant, they find out they're not special, their moms can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it, right? And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation that's growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. The other problem, to compound it, is we're growing up in a Facebook, Instagram world. In other words, we're good at putting filters on things. We're good at showing people that life is amazing even though I'm depressed, right? And so everybody sounds tough, and everybody sounds like they got it all figured out. And the reality is there's very little toughness in most.
Sorry, did someone have a question?
Yes, can you please mute your audio a bit because it makes an echo for the video.
Okay, let me do that.
Right? Which the science we know is pretty clear, which is it devalues the medal and the reward for those who actually work hard, and that actually makes the person who comes in last feel embarrassed because they know they didn't deserve it, so it actually makes them feel worse, right? So you take this group of people, and they graduate school, and they get a job, and they're thrust into the real world, and in an instant, they find out they're not special, their moms can't get them a promotion, that you get nothing for coming in last, and by the way, you can't just have it because you want it. Right? And in an instant, their entire self-image is shattered. And so you have an entire generation that's growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations. The other problem, to compound it, is we're growing up in a Facebook, Instagram world. In other words, we're good at putting filters on things. We're good at showing people that life is amazing even though I'm depressed, right? And so everybody sounds tough. And everybody sounds like they got it all figured out. And the reality is there's very little toughness and most people don't have it figured out. And so when the more senior people say, well, what should we do? They sound like, this is what you got to do. And they have no clue. Right? So you have an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations, right? Through no fault of their own. Right? They were dealt a bad hand, right? Now let's add in technology. We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. That's why when you get a text, it feels good, right? So we've all had it where you're feeling a little bit down or feeling a bit lonely, and so you send out 10 texts to 10 friends, hi, 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 because it feels good when you get a response, right? Right? It's why we count the likes. It's why we go back 10 times to see if my Instagram is growing slower, did I do something wrong? Do they not like me anymore, right? The trauma for young kids to be unfriended, right? Because we know when you get a hit of dopamine, which feels good. It's why we like it. It's why we keep going back to it. Dopamine is the exact same chemical that makes us feel good when we smoke, when we drink, and when we gamble. In other words, it's highly, highly addictive. Right? We have age restrictions on smoking, gambling, and alcohol, and we have no age restrictions on social media and cell phones, which is the equivalent of opening up the liquor cabinet and saying to our teenagers, hey, by the way, this adolescence thing, if it gets you down. But that's basically what's happening. That's basically what's happening, right? That's basically what happened. You have an entire generation that has access to an addictive, numbing chemical called dopamine through social media and cell phones as they're going through the high stress of adolescence. Why is this important? Almost every alcoholic discovered alcohol when they were teenagers. When we're very, very young, the only approval we need is the approval of our parents. And as we go through adolescence, we make this transition where we now need the approval of our peers. Very frustrating for our parents, very important for us. It allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the broader tribe, right? It's a highly, highly stressful and anxious period of our lives, and we're supposed to learn to rely on our friends. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol and numbing effects of dopamine to help them cope with the stresses and anxieties of adolescence. Unfortunately, that becomes hardwired in their brains, and for the rest of their lives, when they suffer significant stress, they will not turn to a person, they will turn to the bottle. Social stress, financial stress, career stress, that's pretty much the primary reasons why an alcoholic drinks, right? What's happening is because we're allowing unfettered access to these dopamine-producing devices and media, basically it's becoming hardwired, and what we're seeing is as they grow older, too many kids don't know how to form deep, meaningful relationships. Their words, not mine. They will admit that many of their friendships are superficial. They will admit that their friends, that they don't count on their friends, they don't rely on their friends, they have fun with their friends, but they also know that their friends will cancel on them if something better comes along. Deep, meaningful relationships are not there because they never practice the skill set, and worse, they don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress. So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person, they're turning to a device, they're turning to social media, they're turning to these things which offer temporary relief. We know, the science is clear, we know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook, right? These things balanced. Alcohol is not bad, too much alcohol is bad. Gambling is fun, too much gambling is dangerous, right? There's nothing wrong with social media and cell phones. It's the imbalance, right? If you're sitting at dinner with your friends and you're texting somebody who's not there, that's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, face up or face down, I don't care, that sends a subconscious message to the room that you're just not that important to me right now, right? That's what happens. And the fact that you cannot put it away is because you are addicted, right? If you wake up and you check your phone before you say good morning to your girlfriend, boyfriend, or spouse, you have an addiction. And like all addiction, in time, it'll destroy relationships, it'll cost time, and it'll cost money, and it'll make your life worse, right? So you have a generation growing up with lower self-esteem that doesn't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress, right? Now you add in the sense of impatience, right? They've grown up in a world of instant gratification. You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it arrives the next day. You want to watch a movie? Log on and watch a movie. You don't check movie times. You want to watch a TV show? Binge. You don't even have to wait week to week to week, right? I know people who skip seasons just so they can binge at the end of the season, right? Instant gratification. You want to go on a date? You don't even have to learn how to be like, hey. You don't even have to learn and practice that skill. You don't have to be the uncomfortable one who says yes when you mean no and says no when you mean no, but yes when you don't have to swipe right. Bang, I'm a stud. Right? You don't have to learn the social coping mechanisms, right? Everything you want, you can have instantaneously. everything you want, instant gratification, except job satisfaction and strength of relationships. There ain't no app for that. They are slow, meandering, uncomfortable, messy processes. And so I keep meeting these wonderful, fantastic, idealistic, hardworking, smart kids. They've just graduated school. They're in their entry-level job. And I sit down with them and I go, how's it going? They go, I think I'm going to quit. I'm like, why? They're like, I'm not making an impact. I'm like, you've been here 8 months. You know? It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain and they have this abstract concept called impact that they want to have in the world, which is the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I don't care if you go up the mountain quickly or slowly, but there's still a mountain. And so what this young generation needs to learn is patience. That some things that really, really matter, like love, or job fulfillment, joy, love of life, self-confidence, a skill set, any of these things, all of these things take time. Sometimes you can expedite pieces of it, but the overall journey is arduous and long and difficult. And if you don't ask for help and learn that skill set, you will fall off the mountain, or you will, the worst case scenario, and we're already seeing it, the worst case scenario is we're seeing an increase in suicide rates, we're seeing an increase in this generation, we're seeing an increase in accidental deaths due to drug overdoses, we're seeing more and more kids drop out of school or take leaves of absence due to depression. Unheard of. These are all, this is really bad. The best case scenario, those are all bad cases, right? The best case scenario is you'll have an entire population growing up and going through life and just never really finding joy. They'll never really find deep fulfillment in work or in life. They'll just waft through life and it'll be just, it's fine. How's your job? It's fine. It's the same as yesterday. How's your relationship? It's fine. Like that's the best case scenario. Which leads me to the fourth point, which is environment, which is we're taking this amazing group of young, fantastic kids who were just dealt a bad hand. It's no fault of their own. And we put them in corporate environments that care more about the numbers than they do about the kids. They care more about the short-term gains than the long-term life of this young human being. We care more about the year than the lifetime, right? And so we are putting them in corporate environments that aren't helping them build their confidence, that aren't helping them learn the skills of cooperation, that aren't helping them overcome the challenges of a digital world and finding more balance, that isn't helping them overcome the need to have instant gratification and teach them the joys and impact and the fulfillment you get from working hard on something for a long time that cannot be done in a month or even in a year. And so we're thrusting to them in corporate environments, and the worst part about it is they think it's them. They blame themselves. They think it's them who can't deal. And so it makes it all worse. It's not. I'm here to tell them it's not them. It's the corporations, it's the corporate environments, it's the total lack of good leadership in our world today that is making them feel the way they do. They were dealt a bad hand, and I hate to say it, but it's the company's responsibility. Sucks to be you, like we have no choice, right? This is what we got, and I wish that society and their parents did a better job. They didn't. So we're getting them in our companies, and we now have to pick up the slack. We have to work extra hard to figure out the ways that we build their confidence. We have to work extra hard to find ways to teach them the social skills that they're missing out on.
Okay, basically millennial are your generation or the generation slightly before you as well, but you are also affected as such. It's because of the new technologies such as social networking, mobile phones and so on. It has changed a lot of the way in which we communicate with each other, especially into some kind of effect also the internet as well. Most of these technology has not been around for that long itself. The internet, if anything, beginning of 1990s, it's basically got started, but pretty much when you guys were born in 1998 towards 2000 and so on, most of the .com or internet started to pick up then. I mean, Google was pretty much came out in 1995. In terms of the smartphones and so on, came out in 2008 with Apple iPhone and so on as well. Most of these are relatively quite new. Even Facebook and Instagram and so on were pretty much started in the 2000 kind of period itself. So most of you were born right in the middle of this particular innovation change as such, and hence you guys are affected as such. But now we don't know anymore, especially with COVID this past 2 years. A lot of us were affected by lockdowns, education lockdowns as well, online classes and so on. It has affected a lot of people. But in terms of startups and entrepreneurship, we have to work with other people. So you need to understand the weaknesses and the strength of not only millennial, I don't know what generation they're going to call, or the name of the generation which were affected by COVID this past 2 years of pandemics and so on. Maybe they will come up with a name sometimes in the future itself. But this past 2 years of lockdown and social distancing and also online classes, socially it has affected a lot of people. Whether you are fatigued with online classes or you lack the communication with other people because of social distancing and so on. It has to affect the way in which you operate, or the way in which other people communicate with each other. Nowadays, especially in business, in the real world, most of my businesses, everything needs to be done online now, especially in the current lockdown in Vietnam. And we've been doing this for the past 2 months. It has affected business. It will affect people over a long period of time as well. Okay, before we go into the main material of this particular course itself, since group and group assignments and so on are a very big component of this particular course, as well as the score, because you're doing group assignments such as CleanTech and EBIS Hub and such. Choosing the right group is very, very important. But then working with the millennials are also important as well. So you need to understand the millennials are affected by social networking and smartphones and so on. And potentially in the future, the next generation will be affected by COVID and pandemic and lockdown and online classes and so on. So let's start about how do we choose the best group, or what needs to be in our group. So we switch to, we'll skip ahead, switch to lecture 2B. Hopefully it will help you in terms of giving you some pointers in terms of choosing the right group. Okay, so tips in terms of choosing and finding your group members or your co-founders and to build your team. So what are the important points? Most successful businesses around the world or have formed throughout history itself, in general tends to contain more than one member or one founder. There are exceptions, such as Alibaba and Jack Ma. He pretty much found the Alibaba by himself. But majority of other companies around the world, most of the successful companies around the world, in general tends to have more than one co-founders, with an average around like 2.4. Around like 2.4 is just about right in the sense. We'll go through why you need more than one founder. With the median founding teams, a highly successful startup, in general, tends to have 2 founders, but between 2 and 3 is about right. Some of the main reason why you need to have more than one founder, because when the times get tough, it's harder because the founders are out of sync with each other. It's harder for both founder quitting at the same time. So hopefully when one founder is down, maybe the other one will bring them up again. But also the field of expertise as well. In general, the issue with this particular course itself, majority of you guys are from the School of Business, but not only that, business administration in general. So most of you, in terms of the area of your interest or expertise, tends to overlap substantially. You need more than one founder, because if you have more than one founder, potentially you can have 2-person or 3-person covering 3 different fields of interest. And we'll go through why it's very important to cover different fields of interest. Not only field of interest, but also field of expertise as well. One person in general are not enough. If you're from business administration, for example, maybe you're good at business, but in terms of technology and products and so on, maybe then that's where your weaknesses are. So in general, one person is not enough in most circumstances, because of this ups and downs of every single business has their ups and downs. So you have more than one person, you can diversify away when one person's decide to give up, maybe the other person can convince them otherwise. But also the field of expertise as well. One person might not be enough to cover everything needed for business in general. So take, for example, a technology company. And we looked at earlier, for example, clean tech assignment. Let's just switch over to clean tech assignment. Let's jump into clean tech assignment as well. Let's take a simple, straightforward technology companies. Yeah, most of you will experience this through the simulation itself. As you can see here, things become very, very complicated. That's why in terms of the EBIS assignment or even clean tech assignment, you need to form groups of 3 to 4 individuals. If you have more than one individual, because the skill set needed, you look at this tab here, you've got human resource. You need someone to have personal skill set. You need to have someone with business accounts, cash flow, finance kind of skill set to measure cash flow. You look at it on the sales tab, you need someone with marketing skill set to be able to understand about market size, active prospects, sales funnel, marketing in general. And then you need to have people to understand about the technology as well, in terms of improving the efficiency of these, the product itself, or the legal person to understand the regulation when it comes to carbon dioxide as well as energy emission into the environment and so on. So in general, most businesses in general needs quite a diverse skill set. Not only finance and cash flows analysis and so on, but also marketing and sales. And in addition, technology-wise, you need to have engineers and so on as well. So in general, in this world, there's no one which have the necessary expertise and skill set to cover everything all at once. So in general, more than one person in a startup team is good, because not only they have their ups and downs, which are out of sync with each other, So hence they can bring the persons down up. But in addition, the field of expertise can span a larger number of areas, from marketing to engineering to human resources to psychology and so on, to legal and so on and so on. So hence, more than one person is good, mainly because of the skill sets or expertise itself. But you need to get a co-founder that you actually can work with, yeah, because most groups of individual tends to come together, but then also break up, like a good K-pop band, for example. Yeah, eventually they will break up, or even a pop band. So much of investors and experienced entrepreneurs and venture capitalists and so on tends to base a lot of decision on team itself rather than the actual business plan. In investments and venture capital, we have this saying that we would rather invest in a good team but a bad business plan. Compare that to a bad team with a good business plan. Why is that? So in terms of a good team, by definition, a good team can turn a bad or good business plan around, yeah, and make it successful. By definition, that's what a good team is all about. A good management team can turn, whether it's a good business or bad business, it can turn around and make it successful. But in terms of a bad team, and even the best business plan in the world, by definition, a bad team can turn any, whether it's successful business or super business, it can turn into a bad business itself through bad management and so on as well. So in general, when it comes to a business or a startup, getting the right team is the most important decision, especially from an investor or venture capitalist point of view as well, but also from the team. Most successful teams in general tends to have a good right mixture and a good team, or the choice of team, or the choice of management. Yeah, it's not about the business plan, more so it is about the team. Then secondly, it is the business plan. But in general, through research and so on, and Dave McClure runs quite a successful venture capital. Currently, it's called 500 Startup, and currently there's about 500 startups. He's invested around so like $10 million in various different startups here in Vietnam. And he coins this holy trinity, or hacker, hustler, and hipster. Actually, let me just change that. How do I change this? I think this bar is covering my screen in a moment. Here we go. Give it a short while, it's a bit slow. In general, most successful companies have the right mixture of skill sets. They have a hacker, so that's equivalent to like an engineer or someone with a technical background. It doesn't have to be technology based, It could be a good singer or a good singer-song-writer, or could be a good actor. Basically, someone with a technical skill. It doesn't have to be technical. It could be artistical technical. But you need a hacker of some sort, someone who are based on that particular technology or skill set. Then in addition, you need to have a hustler. So hustler are the one which keeps the people together. They're the one which find the people in the first place. They're like the manager. They're like the CEO of a company. They bring the hacker together as well as the hipster together to make the business successful. They keep the hacker and the hipster and themselves together and keep the tight-knit within the group itself together. And then in addition, you need someone with the skill set of the hipster, a marketer or salesperson. At the end of the day, not only you need to have the skill set of the hacker and the hustler to bring everything together, you need to be able to market and sell your product or your service as well. And that's where the skill sets of a hipster comes in. So when we talked about 2.4 co-founder on average for successful companies, around like 3 or 2.5 person, it's just about right. Yeah? In the sense that you need a little bit of the intellectual property, whether it's music or skill sets or technology. You need a manager and you need a marketer. Those are the 3 most important components of any company itself. So the dream team, hacker, hustler, hipster, in general, the hustler are like the CEO of the company. They're the one who bring the team together. They're the one who manage the team. They're the one which have business plan in mind. They guide the team along various different validation paths. Yeah? They're the people which eat, sleep, and breathe business model. Whereas the hacker, like the engineer or the special skill set, could be a good cook as well, could be the chef of the company itself. They're the one who invent things. They're the one who come up with the product or the services of any particular company. So they're the back end, front end, the full stack developer or chef or singer-songwriter. Yeah, they're the chief technologist, the CTO of the company itself. They're the one which eats, sleeps, and breathe technology or code or music. They're the artists themselves as well, or the chef of the company itself. So you need a CEO or the manager to manage the artist or the inventor, the hacker. And then in addition, you need to have marketing and sales as well. So that's the hipster. So the hipster are the so-called designer. They're the chief marketing officer. They're the chief sales officer. Once you have those 3 components, a company should be able to form together. Yeah? Not only you have a product or a service, you have someone to focus on the product and service, which is the hacker. You have the hipster, which does the sales and marketing of that particular product or service. And then in addition, you need the hustler, the one which keeps the team together to find the team in the first place. But sometimes, if you're lucky, the hacker can be also the hustler as well. You can have people with more than one role. Yeah? In general, in a lot of companies, especially technology companies, both the CEO and the hacker are the same person. Yeah? For example, Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg, for example. Yeah. So in general, why is it 2.4 co-founder in general? Because sometimes the role of the CEO as well as the hacker or the chief technology officer can be the same person as well. You can have more expertise in one person But in general, all three skill sets, it's very rare to find someone or one person which have not only the hustler skill set, that's bringing the people together, the hacker skill set, which are the technology, the inventor, the chef of the company itself. And in addition, the hipster or the marketer all in one person. It's rare to find them, but if you're lucky, you can have all three in one person. And the example which I gave earlier in terms of Alibaba, and for example, with Jack Ma, for example, he has all three skill sets together and has formed Alibaba by himself. But majority of other companies around the world, or startups, or entrepreneurship in general, you need these three very important skill sets to be part of the company itself. So hence, once you decide to choose your group for not only clean tech assignment and the e-business assignment, you need to think about the different skill sets which they have, or the different field of expertise do they have. Do you have a marketer, a hipster, or a hacker in your team? Do you need one? The issue with the current mixture of people in the class at the moment, most of you are from the School of Business Administration. So most of you are basically hipster or hustler in general. Most of you are hustler. There might be some hipster among you, some marketers in general, but rare in our class are hackers. You know, there are a few. There's a few students who are from the School of Biotechnology and a few from engineering and so on. But most of you are from the School of Business and Administration and so on. So most of you are like hustlers and hipsters. If anything, we are oversupply with hustlers. Less so in terms of hipsters, and even rarer engineers and biotech technicians and so on. They are in the class, but there's only about 5 or so engineers and biotech in the class. They're the hackers in general. So to form your team for clean tech assignment and eBiz Hub, do use Zalo. Like I said, you can have team members which does not belong to the class. It can be outside of the class, or can be from my other class, my Wednesday class as well. Yeah. So there's no limitation when it comes to team. When I'm talking about 3 to 4 student, doesn't have to be student even, 3 or 4 person per team. What I mean is that it doesn't have to be in the class. It can be my Wednesday class, or it can be someone outside of the class as well. Yeah, so there's no limitation there, as long as they are real person. Yeah, there's no virtual or fake people. Yeah, you need to make sure that you can prove that that person does exist when you're talking about the 3 to 4 per group. We will need to register. I believe I mentioned in the Blackboard announcement that you need to register your group by week 3, so that I can send out the users and passwords and so on for clean tech assignments, and quite a lot of other things which you need to do when it comes to group and team leaders and so on of that group as well. So don't forget, every single group needs to have a team leader. Don't forget, the team leader is the hustler, and usually it's the hustler which bring the team together in the first place. Yeah. So that's one of the role of the hustler. Not only finding the right people for the team and bring them together, but also about managing the business plan and email and user and password for clean tech assignment and so on and so on. The hacker are the technology or the chef or the artist of the group itself, and the hipsters are the UI, UX, user interface, user experience, and marketer and salesperson of the team itself as well, focusing on the websites and maybe even the wireframing for the apps and logo and so on. Okay, I think we are short on time. We're running out of time. It's currently 10 to 4. So we'll unless there's more questions and so on, we will carry on next week. Any question for anyone so far? Anyone with questions? Okay, if there's no question, don't forget to use Zalo and so on to contact other people, find out information about them. You need to bring a team together for your group assignment, preferably someone with the role of hacker, hustler, or hipsters. Yeah, we kind of talked about it. You need to have some technical or chef in your team. You need someone hustler to bring the team together or to find the team in the first place, and you need hipster to help with marketing and doing the your business plan, your websites, and design in your Android apps and so on as well. So do use Zalo. I've created that group there for a particular reason, is to help you communicate, be able to communicate with each other. The issue with nowadays with lockdowns and pandemics and so on, we might not to see each other face to face, or even have group kind of chat and so on. So please use Zalo or other social networking media to be able to find and bring the group together. Okay. So if there's no question today, I will see you next week then. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye, teacher.